Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, where we don't just talk about astrology, we explore how the stars shape our lives, our minds, and our relationships. I'm a practicing astrologer and psychologist, and today we're diving deep into one of the most misunderstood and fascinating signs of the zodiac, Scorpio. This sign is intense, magnetic, mysterious, but also deeply emotional and loyal in ways most people don't expect. And along the way, I'll be sharing some real stories from my own work with clients, because astrology isn't just about charts and symbols, it's about people. Okay, real talk. Have you ever met someone who just knew things about you? Like, you'd be sitting there, thinking you're being all cool and mysterious, and they'd just give you this look like, yeah, I see right through that act. That's a Scorpio for you. I remember my friend Sarah, total Scorpio, who once called me out when I tried to cancel plans with some lame excuse. She just texted back, "Try again, the truth this time." No anger, just this eerie calm. And that's when I realized, you can't BS a Scorpio. So today, let's break down why they're like this, how to actually get along with them, and, because we've all heard the stories, how to avoid ending up on their infamous list of people who wronged them. Scorpio is a water sign, ruled by Pluto, the planet of transformation, rebirth, and the unseen. People born under this sign are often described as intense, private, emotionally deep, and at times, a little intimidating. They don't do surface-level anything. One client of mine, a woman in her early 30s, once told me, "I've always struggled to let people in. But when I finally did, it changed everything." That's the essence of Scorpio. They guard their inner world, but once you're in for life. They're driven by emotional truth. If something feels fake, they back away. If it feels real, they dive in, all the way. Psychologically, Scorpios are complex. They're not necessarily extroverted, but they're observant. Extremely so. They pick up on what's unsaid. I remember a session with a client named Jake. He was convinced his coworkers were hiding something from him, but he couldn't explain why. Weeks later, he found out one of his closest work friends had been trying to undermine him behind the scenes. He'd sensed it, even when everything looked normal on the surface. That's a Scorpio's intuition in action. But it's not just about suspicion. When Scorpios trust you, they are fiercely loyal. They protect what they care about, almost to a fault. That emotional armor, though, it's there because they feel everything, and they've likely been burned before. In relationships, Scorpios look for depth. They need emotional truth, no games, no fluff. They tend to connect best with other water signs like Pisces and Cancer, or with grounded earth signs like Taurus and Virgo. One client of mine, let's call him Daniel, was a Scorpio who fell hard for an Aries woman. Passion, off the charts. But emotionally, constant battles. He told me, "Every time I tried to open up, she'd respond with fire. It made me shut down." Scorpios don't do well with emotional volatility. They need someone who can hold space for intensity without reacting out of fear. Scorpios are complex. They can come off as distant or hard to read, but once you earn their trust, they become incredibly loyal. Still, they won't give that trust easily. I remember a session with a guy named Michael, a Scorpio in his mid-30s. He came to me because he was feeling stuck, trapped in a relationship with a woman who was, as he put it, playing games. Michael wasn't sure why, but he felt something was off. And sure enough, after a few weeks of working together, we uncovered something significant. His partner had been hiding major details about her life. For a Scorpio, this kind of deceit is a deal breaker. It's no surprise. Scorpios have an uncanny ability to feel when something is wrong. They don't just see what's on the surface, they sense what's beneath it. This is their psychological gift, but also a curse when people aren't as straightforward as they need them to be. When it comes to relationships, Scorpios crave depth and loyalty. They want a partner who can match their emotional intensity and who isn't afraid to dive deep. The best matches for Scorpios are Pisces, Cancer, Taurus, and Virgo. But let's be honest, everyone is different. Take Sarah, another client of mine. I'll share Sarah's story a bit later. Stay tuned. Who had been seeing a man named Mike, an Aries. She said, "Every time I try to show him my vulnerability, he gets defensive or turns the conversation into a fight." They both craved emotional intimacy, but their signs didn't sync up. The impulsive, action-oriented Aries felt overwhelmed by Sarah's emotional depth, while she felt unappreciated and misunderstood. And, as often happens with Scorpios, the relationship didn't last, but it was a crucial learning experience for Sarah. She learned what she needed from a partner and what her emotional boundaries were. One of the most memorable stories from my practice came from a client named Sarah. She was 29, a marketing professional, very intuitive, emotionally intelligent. She came to me months after an intense relationship that started in a strange but serendipitous way. Sarah had attended a professional conference in Seattle. During a break between lectures, she started chatting with a man named Michael, mid-30s, quiet, confident, sharp-eyed. And here's what she told me. I knew he was a Scorpio before he even said a word about it. There was something about his energy, controlled, intense, magnetic. He looked at me like he already knew what I was thinking. They connected instantly, but in that Scorpio way, slowly, cautiously. Michael didn't overshare. He didn't charm her with compliments. But every word he said carried weight. They started seeing each other after the conference. At first, it was exciting, the kind of energy where every moment feels electric. But over time, Sarah realized she was doing all the emotional lifting. He never really let me in, she said. It felt like he was always holding something back, even when we were at our closest. The truth was, Michael had been through something traumatic a year earlier, a breakup that left him guarded. And as a Scorpio, that kind of betrayal runs deep. He wanted intimacy, but feared the vulnerability it required. And Sarah, being sensitive herself, tried to break through the wall. But eventually, it became exhausting. I loved him, she said, but I couldn't keep trying to reach someone who wasn't reaching back. In the end, they broke things off. But what stuck with Sarah, and with me, was how powerful that connection was, even if it didn't last. Scorpio relationships are like that. When they open up, it's all or nothing. But getting to that place takes time, patience, and above all, trust. There are a lot of myths about Scorpios. One of the biggest? That they're vengeful and always plotting revenge. The truth is, Scorpios aren't necessarily out for vengeance. It's more about their deep sense of justice. If they feel wronged, they can hold a grudge. But it's usually more about making things right in their own eyes, not about hurting others. One interesting fact, Scorpios have incredible intuition. I remember a session with a Scorpio woman named Amanda. She looked at me during our first meeting and said, "You've been going through something recently, haven't you? It's written all over you." I hadn't said a word about anything personal, but she just knew. This is a classic Scorpio trait. They can sense things others don't even pick up on. Scorpios, that they're vengeful, manipulative, cold. The truth? Scorpios feel things more than most, but they don't always express it in ways others understand. When they strike back, it's often because they feel justice hasn't been served, not out of cruelty, but because they care too much. I once had a Scorpio client, a woman named Lily, who picked up immediately that I was going through a personal crisis during our first session. I hadn't said a word about it. She simply looked at me and said, "You don't seem like yourself. Something's off." That kind of emotional radar? It's real. It's one of Scorpio's greatest strengths and greatest burdens. Some of the world's most iconic figures are Scorpios. People like Bill Gates, Leonardo DiCaprio, Hillary Clinton, and even Mozart. What they have in common? Focus, resilience, an ability to go deep, whether it's in business, the arts, or public service. These individuals often talk about confronting internal struggles, seeking meaning, and rebuilding themselves over and over. That's Scorpio energy, transformation through crisis, power forged in emotional fire. Scorpios live life with intensity. They love deeply, they hurt deeply, and they grow through those emotional battles. If you are a Scorpio, or if you love one, remember this. Beneath the armor is someone who wants to be understood, but they need space and time to feel safe. And when they do, you get loyalty, passion, and depth like no other. If this video resonated with you, leave a comment below. Maybe you've got your own Scorpio story. Hit that like button, subscribe for more psychological astrology, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay curious and keep looking up.